Good morning, writers. Let's get started with our writing learning intention. First, make sure you fill out the date. And today as a writer, I am working on planning with a story arc. So before we are able to start planning our stories, we must first look back at all of our story blurbs we collected and select a story idea. Just like the stories that we read, it is important that the stories we write have some sort of meaning behind them. So in order to help us better choose a story with meaning behind it, I want you to ask yourself, what do I want my reader to know, think, or feel when reading this story? And what issues does my character struggle with in this story? As you reread each of your story blurbs, ask yourself those two questions. And when you think you've found a story idea that you would like to take through the writing process and publish, put a star by it and give a silent thumb up so your teacher knows you're ready. After reading back through my story ideas, I've decided on this one. A girl named Sam goes to the park with her older sister Becca, and they swing on the swings together. When the swing is in midair, Becca flies from the swing, showing off a big fancy trick she has learned. Sam decides to try the same thing, even though Becca tells her not to. Sam falls on her wrist and begins to cry. So first, let's take a look at what the story mountain is. To start your story, you should have some sort of background. This includes the introduction of characters in the setting. Then comes the rising action, which includes the events leading up to the main problem or conflict. Notice there are a couple bumps here, which means there could possibly be one event leading up to that main problem or possibly a couple events. Then comes the climax, which is where the problem reaches its high point, which is why it's at the tip of the mountain here. And then coming down the mountain, we have our falling action, which is when the characters work to solve the problem or conflict. And then finally, the resolution is how things end up in the story. The problem necessarily doesn't always need to be solved, but there should be at least a point where the character learns something, which would also be the resolution. So now I'm going to start plotting my story onto the story mountain using sticky notes. So our background is that Sam and Becca run to the swing set at the playground. Right away, Becca starts pumping her legs. Then our rising action is before long, Becca was high above Sam. "Watch me," she said. Becca flew from the swing, landing perfectly on 2 feet with her hands in the air. So now here, our climax is when our problem reaches our high point. Sam watched in awe and decided to try the same trick. And here it may not seem like a huge problem, but it's more of an internal conflict that our character Sam might be having with herself to try the trick. And then the falling action is Sam twists her ankle as she landed and immediately fell to the ground, crying in pain. And in the end, how our story ends up, Becca helped Sam up and they walked home together, Becca's arm around Sam. That's one way that our story could go. Notice how I have 5 sticky notes on my story mountain. 5 or 6 sticky notes would be a good amount to have. Any more and it just becomes too much, and any less and you probably don't have enough information. So writers, I think I'm done planning my story mountain, but something that's really important to do is always ask yourself, what is this story really about? And make sure that you are getting that with your story mountain and your story idea. So thinking more about my story, I'm not sure that I really am portraying the message that I want to show. I'm thinking that I really want to have a story that shows how peer pressure can make us do dumb things. I decided to make a different story arc to try really hard to show what this story is really about. So I started out now with Sam and Becca run to the swing set at the playground. "I beat you again," Becca yelled as she got on the swing. Right away, Becca starts pumping her legs. So here I just added in that part where Becca says, "I beat you again," to kind of show that maybe there's something between these two sisters, where the older sister is always trying to beat the younger sister. Next we have, before long, Becca was high above Sam. "Watch me," she said. Becca flew from the swing, landing perfectly on 2 feet with her hands in the air. "You're too much of a little baby to jump off the swing like me," Becca snickered. So again, kind of showing how that older sister is always trying to be better than the younger sister and saying that she can't do the things that she's doing. Then for the climax, even though Sam was feeling a little unsure, she thought to herself, "Becca's always better at everything than me. I'm going to show her that I can do that trick too." So here it's really showing that pressure made Sam do that trick. And then Sam twisted her ankle as she landed and immediately fell to the ground, crying in pain. So this action of Sam getting hurt is going to lead to our resolution of how the story is going to end up. In this case, I wanted Becca to realize that she had done something wrong. So I said Becca realized that she pressured Sam and felt bad. She helped Sam up and told her she was sorry for how she acted. They walked home together with Becca helping Sam all the way there. So notice, although my first story mountain had the events to lead to the resolution, this story really gets at that question, what is this story really about? So today as you go off and work, you're going to plot your story using a story mountain. Plan out your story at least 2 different ways. And as you're doing that, ask yourself, what is this story really about? To make sure that you're getting at the message you want your readers to gather from your story. Work hard and make it a great day.